Ruff, aka Disney Channel's attempt to convince kids that adopting a dog is both the best and the worst decision they could ever make. This movie came out in 2005 during peak Disney Channel original movie era. You know, the time when every other movie featured a kid learning valuable life lessons while also dealing with the most absurdly specific conflict. But Life Is Ruff, this one stood out because, let's be honest, who doesn't love a movie where a dog causes complete and utter chaos?
Sweet mother molasses!
But here's the real question. Why does Life Is Ruff still matter almost 20 years later? I mean, it's not exactly the first Disney Channel movie that comes to mind when you think of the classics, but Life Is Ruff had something special. Kyle Massey in his prime, a dog with more personality than half the human cast, and a surprisingly solid message about responsibility, redemption, and comic books. This movie somehow combined pet adoption, sneaky scams, school drama, and a high-stake dog competition into one wild ride. And honestly, it still holds up.
I'm gonna burst into tears.
Burst into tears every time I think of you. Burst into tears every time I think of you. Burst into tears. I burst into tears. I burst into tears every time I freaking think of you. Life Is Ruff, a movie that asks the age-old question. What happens when an overconfident middle schooler adopts a dog for all the wrong reasons? Our main guy is Calvin Wheeler, played by Kyle Massey. Calvin isn't your average Disney Channel protagonist. He's not some shy, misunderstood kid. This dude is popular, stylish, well, 2005 stylish, and completely obsessed with comic books. And when he finds out about a super rare comic worth a whopping $3,000, he's determined to get his hands on it. But there's just one tiny issue. He's broke. So what's his genius plan? Win a fancy dog show. Because apparently the cash prize is exactly what he needs.
It's impossible.
It's what? What do we say about the impossible?
Okay. Expect the impossible!
But there's another problem. He doesn't even have a dog. Minor detail, right?
We happen to be missing something kind of important.
Like what?
A dog.
So naturally, he heads to the local shelter and adopts Tyco, a huge, slobbery, untrained beast of chaos. Tyco is the kind of dog that makes you rethink every life decision you've ever made. He's big, loud, and completely uncontrollable. And Calvin, he immediately regrets everything. At first, Calvin treats Tyco like a business investment. He just needs to train him well enough to win the contest, cash out, and move on with his life. But as you probably guessed, things don't go as planned. As Calvin spends more time with Tyco, something weird happens. He actually starts to care about the dog, like really care. Suddenly, it's not just about the contest anymore. It's about doing the right thing. And for Calvin, that's a pretty big deal. But of course, it wouldn't be a Disney Channel movie without a villain. Enters Preston Price. This dude is rich, smug, and determined to win at all costs. And by at all costs, I mean straight up sabotage. But it's not just Tyco causing problems. Calvin also has to deal with his parents. Yup, Calvin's mom and dad have no idea that he's hiding a massive dog in their house. At first, Calvin thinks he can totally pull this off, but when his parents start coming home to find the kitchen completely destroyed, they're definitely getting suspicious. I mean, seriously, how did they not notice that Calvin was hiding a giant dog under a blanket? Eventually, Calvin's mom comes home early one day and freaks out because she thinks there's a bear in her house. That's when Calvin finally comes clean about Tyco.
That's not a bear. That's Tyco. My dog. You're what?
After talking it over, Calvin's parents actually decide to let him keep Tyco. Much to Calvin's excitement, what does this mean? Calvin can enter the dog show, win the prize, and get his Gotham Man issue #1 comic and live happily ever after, right? Wrong. Emily is furious when she learns that Calvin plans to compete with Tyco. She's so mad that she boycotts the dog show altogether. And things get even messier when Raymond discovers lost dog posters of Tyco all over town.
Tyco has a home. He's a family that misses him. Look, they're even offering a reward to get him back.
Turns out Tyco's original name is Chester. When Calvin hears about the posters, he tells Raymond to literally take them all down immediately. That's when Raymond finally stands up to Calvin and calls him out for being selfish. This hits Calvin hard, and he knows what he has to do: give Tyco back to his rightful owners. But wait, there's a twist. Emily and Raymond soon realize that the people who took Tyco aren't his real owners at all. They're scammers set up by none other than who? Preston Price. Calvin is livid when he finds out, and there's only one thing left to do. They come up with a quick plan, distract the fake owners, and sneak Tyco out. And guess what? It works. Operation Get Tyco Back is a success. In the end, Calvin and Tyco win the dog show, despite Preston's attempts to sabotage them. Calvin learns that doing the right thing sometimes means fighting for what you love, even when it's complicated. Calvin doesn't get the rare comic book. He doesn't become a millionaire, but he does get something even better. A best friend who just so happens to be a 100-pound disaster on 4 legs. Life is Ruff is about more than just a dog show. It's about responsibility, friendship, and realizing that some things like loyalty and love are worth way more than money.
I'm gonna burst into tears.
Burst into tears every time I think of you. Burst into tears every time I think of you. Burst into tears. I burst into tears. I burst into tears every time I freaking think of you. Let's talk about the real stars of Life Is Ruff, the cast. Disney Channel did not hold back when assembling this lineup. First up, we got Kyle Massey as Calvin Wheeler, aka our main character. If you grew up on Disney Channel, you already know Kyle as Corey Baxter from That's So Raven and Corey in the House. But in Life Is Ruff, he plays Calvin, a kid who's equal parts selfish, funny, and somehow still relatable. Calvin starts off as your classic middle school hustler. He's all about being cool, collecting rare comics, and doing the absolute least amount of work possible. But as we saw, adopting a giant untrainable dog changes all of that. And honestly, Kyle Massey nails this role. He brings the same energy that made Corey Baxter hilarious. Tons of sarcasm, big facial expressions, and just the right amount of "this is a terrible idea, but I'm doing it anyway." Next, we've got Kay Panabaker as Emily Watson, Calvin's best friend and possibly his low-key crush. Emily is basically the only responsible person in this entire movie. She's smart, she's an animal lover, and she spends most of the movie trying to keep Calvin from making even worse decisions than he already has. And then there's Mitchell Musso as Raymond Finn, aka the goofy best friend. If Mitchell Musso looks familiar, that's because he went on to play Oliver in Hannah Montana and voice Jeremy in Phineas and Ferb. Raymond exists purely for comic relief, and honestly, he does his job perfectly. We can't forget about Calvin's mom and dad, the hardworking parents who genuinely love Calvin, but are just a little bit clueless when it comes to his schemes. They're constantly pushing him to be more responsible and improve his grades at school. But let's be honest, keeping up with Calvin's antics isn't exactly easy.
Oh, hey kids. What you doing? We're just, chilling.
Chilling like a villain, Mrs. Wheeler.
Yeah.
They're not bad parents. They're just trying to figure out how to get their son to take life a little more seriously. And when they finally discover that Calvin has been hiding a massive dog in their house the whole time, they're understandably shocked. But after talking it over, they decide that letting Calvin keep Tyco might actually teach him some responsibility. And that decision ends up changing everything. And we definitely can't forget about Rondell, the basketball star who's basically Calvin's go-to guy when he needs a favor. Calvin and Rondell have this unspoken deal where they're each other's I know a guy connection. When one of them needs something, the other shows up, no question. For example, early in the movie, they make a trade that pretty much sums up their friendship. Calvin hands over the other team's playbook in exchange for something he really wants. Gotham Man issue number 2. It's a win-win situation, and it just goes to show how Calvin and Rondell always have each other's backs when it counts. Every Disney Channel movie needs a rich, snobby, overly dramatic villain, and Life Is Ruff delivers with Preston Price. This dude is peak preppy kid who takes everything way too serious. He's the reigning champion of the dog show, and he will not let some random middle schooler and his chaotic dog ruin his winning streak. And of course, like every good Disney villain, he's not above playing dirty. And finally, the real MVP of this movie, Tyco, the massive, untrained, food-stealing, furniture-destroying machine, is the heart and soul of Life Is Ruff. He's the reason Calvin learns to be a better person. He steals every scene he's in, and let's be real, he's the actual best friend Calvin didn't know he needed.
I'm gonna burst into tears.
Burst into tears every time I think of you. Burst into tears every time I think of you. Burst into tears. I burst into tears. I burst into tears every time I freaking think of you. Let's be real. When you think of classic Disney Channel original movies, your mind probably jumps to stuff like High School Musical, Twitches, or The Luck of the Irish. But Life Is Ruff, this movie did something completely different. Unlike a lot of other Disney Channel movies, Life Is Ruff doesn't rely on magic spells, secret royal identities, or basketball championships to tell its story. Instead, it gives us something way more relatable. A kid who has to deal with actual responsibility for the first time in his life. No genie granting wishes, no hidden mermaid powers, just one middle schooler trying and failing to train a giant uncontrollable dog. Disney's done a lot of pet movies, but Life Is Ruff takes a different approach. Instead of the usual kid loves his dog from the start story, Calvin only adopts Tyco for the money. It's not a love at first sight moment. In fact, at first, Calvin hates how much work Tyco is, but that's what makes it feel real. The movie actually shows how tough it is to take care of a pet and how much work goes into being a good owner, and that's something a lot of Disney movies never touched on. Let's be honest, some old Disney Channel movies haven't exactly aged well, but Life Is Ruff, this one still works. Why? Because it's funny, it's genuine, and at its core, it's about something everyone can relate to. Growing up and realizing that taking care of something or someone is a lot harder than it looks. It's the perfect mix of chaos and heart, and that's why, even almost 20 years later, Life Is Ruff still deserves its spot in the Disney Channel Hall of Fame.
I'm gonna burst into tears.
Burst into tears every time I think of you. Burst into tears every time I think of you. Burst into tears. I burst into tears. I burst into tears every time I freaking think of you. This movie has some seriously underrated comedy. Calvin adopting Tyco seemed like a great idea until he actually had to train him. Tyco is the definition of zero discipline. Calvin tells him to stop, he runs faster. Calvin says stay, Tyco takes off like a rocket. It's basically a masterclass in how to not train a dog.
Tyco! Come back here! Tyco!
Now, let's talk about Raymond Fig, aka Calvin's best friend, aka the walking definition of doing the most. Every time something even slightly stressful happens, Raymond reacts like he's in a full-blown action movie. And honestly, we love him for it. If this movie didn't have Raymond freaking out over literally everything, would it even be Life Is Ruff?
If we lose this game, we're gonna need someone to take our frustrations out on. Are you feeling me?
And then there's the dog show, the moment Calvin's been training for, or at least trying to. And does it go smoothly? Absolutely not. And finally, we have to give a shout out to Emily Watson, the only person in this movie with a functioning brain. Emily spends 90% of the movie calling Calvin out, and honestly, he needed it. Without Emily, Calvin would have been completely lost. And let's be real, watching her shut him down over and over, comedic gold. So yeah, between the disastrous dog training, Raymond's over-the-top reactions, and the absolute chaos of the dog show, Life Is Ruff is packed with some of the funniest and most underrated moments in Disney Channel history.
I'm gonna burst into tears.
Burst into tears every time I think of you. Burst into tears every time I think of you. Burst into tears. I burst into tears. I burst into tears every time I freaking think of you. Life Is Ruff isn't just about a kid and his dog creating absolute chaos together. Like every great Disney Channel movie, it sneaks in some pretty solid life lessons. And honestly, some of these still hit today. At the start of the movie, Calvin only adopts Tyco for one reason: to win money. Not exactly a heartwarming motivation, but what he doesn't expect, actually having to take care of a dog. Tyco isn't some easy, low-maintenance pet. He's a walking disaster. Calvin learns fast that responsibility isn't always fun, but in the end, it's worth it. He grows up, steps up, and realizes that taking care of someone else, even if that someone is a giant, messy dog, actually matters. In the beginning, Calvin is all about status. He's got the cool clothes, the rare comics, and a reputation to maintain, but his friendships kinda on the back burner. As the movie goes on, he realizes that real friends like Emily and Raymond actually have his back. They're not just there for the hype, they're there because they care. By the end of the movie, Calvin finally gets it. Being popular means nothing if you don't have real friends by your side. Calvin's entire motivation at the start was money. He wanted that rare comic book more than anything. But when the moment finally comes to choose between the prize and Tyco, he realizes that love and loyalty are worth way more than a piece of paper with superheroes on it.
It's okay, Tyco. It's just a bad dream. You're safe with me.
A lot of kids and some adults don't realize that getting a pet is a huge responsibility. Calvin learns this the hard way when he realizes Tyco isn't just a cute accessory. He's a living, breathing animal who needs real care. By the end of the movie, Calvin finally understands owning a pet isn't just about the fun parts. It's a lifelong commitment. One of the biggest lessons in Life Is Ruff, doing the right thing is hard. Calvin could have cheated to win. He could have taken the easy way out, but instead he chooses to do what's right, even if it means losing the contest. And in the end, that choice makes all the difference. Before we continue, drop your favorite Life Is Ruff moments in the comments below. And if you got any ideas for future videos, I'm all ears. Quick reminder, there's a special bonus section waiting for you at the end. Trust me, you don't want to miss this.
I'm gonna burst into tears.
Burst into tears every time I think of you. Burst into tears every time I think of you. Burst into tears. I burst into tears. I burst into tears every time I freaking think of you. If you ever watched a classic boy and his dog movie, you know the usual formula. Kid gets a dog, dog is magically well behaved, and by the end of the movie, everything is perfect. Yeah, Life Is Ruff did not follow that script. This movie actually showed how hard it is to own a pet, like really hard. And honestly, that's one of the things that makes it so good. Let's be honest, most pet movies make it seem like having a dog is just playing fetch and getting cuddles. But Life Is Ruff actually shows the reality. Tyco isn't just a cute sidekick, he's a full-time job. Calvin quickly realizes that feeding, walking, and cleaning up after a dog is way more work than he expected. And honestly, that's refreshing to see in a Disney movie. Another thing Life Is Ruff gets right, training is not instant at all. Most movies make it seem like dogs just instantly understand what to do. Nope, not even close. Calvin tries everything, but it takes time and a whole lot of failure before Tyco finally starts listening. And honestly, that's realistic. At first, Calvin sees Tyco as nothing more than a way to make money. But as time goes on, a shift happens. By the end of the movie, Calvin finally understands pets aren't just temporary fun, they're family. And once you bring them into your life, you have to stick with them through all the messes, chaos, and sleepless nights. That's what makes Life Is Ruff stand out.
I'm gonna burst into tears.
Burst into tears every time I think of you. Burst into tears every time I think of you. Burst into tears. I burst into tears. I burst into tears every time I freaking think of you. Disney has given us a lot of dog movies over the years. Some are legendary, some are completely forgotten, and some, Life Is Ruff, deserve way more love. We have to start with the king of Disney dog movies, Air Bud. This movie didn't just introduce us to a dog that can hoop, it launched an entire franchise. But let's be real, Air Bud is a sports movie first, dog movie second. It's heartwarming, but it's not exactly about the struggles of real pet ownership. If Life Is Ruff had a long lost sibling, it'd be Hounded. This movie also features a kid stuck with a high maintenance, troublemaking dog, but the difference? This one's way more of a slapstick comedy. Both movies show that owning a dog is no joke, but Hounded leans more into over-the-top chaos, while Life Is Ruff balances comedy with actual character growth. Technically, Snow Dogs is a Disney dog movie, but let's be real. This one's about a guy trying to survive in the middle of nowhere, not the struggles of owning a dog. It's got adventure, heart, and some great dog moments, but in terms of relatable pet ownership struggles, Life Is Ruff wins. And finally, we've got the underdog. Life Is Ruff might not be the first movie that comes to mind when you think of Disney's best, but it absolutely deserves a spot in the conversation. Unlike most Disney dog movies, this one actually focuses on what it's like to own a dog. The good, the bad, and the completely exhausting. And that makes it stand out. So, where does Life Is Ruff rank? It might not have the legacy of Air Bud, the chaos of Hounded, or the adventure of Snow Dogs, but it nails something those movies don't. It actually feels real. It's funny, relatable, and packed with heart.
I'm gonna burst into tears.
Burst into tears every time I think of you. Burst into tears every time I think of you. Burst into tears. I burst into tears. I burst into tears every time I freaking think of you. It's been almost 20 years since Life Is Ruff first aired, and a lot has changed since then. So, what happened to the cast? First up, we got Kyle Massey as Calvin Wheeler, aka one of Disney Channel's biggest stars of the 2000s. After Life Is Ruff, Kyle continued on Disney, starring as Corey Baxter in That's So Raven, and later in Corey in the House, which, let's be real, had one of the catchiest theme songs ever. He almost made guest appearances on other Disney shows, and even competed on Dancing with the Stars. But in recent years, Kyle's been keeping a much lower profile. He stepped away from the spotlight, but for Disney Channel fans, he'll always be one of the greats. Next up, we got Kay Panabaker as Emily Watson, aka the only responsible person in this entire movie. Kay was a Disney Channel regular in the 2000s, She starred in Read It and Weep, made appearances on Phil of the Future, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, and even had a role in Fame from 2009. But then she did something totally unexpected. She quit acting. Kay decided Hollywood wasn't for her and went back to school to study zoology. Now, instead of working with co-stars, she works with exotic animals. She's been a zookeeper at Disney's Animal Kingdom, proving that she really loves animals on and off screen. And finally, we got Mitchell Musso as Raymond Finn, aka the best friend who always makes things worse. After Life Is Ruff, Mitchell became a Disney staple. He played Oliver Oaken in Hannah Montana.
Good evening! Let's pump some blood into this party.
Voiced Jeremy in Phineas and Ferb, and even starred in Pair of Kings. But he didn't just stick to acting. He also launched a music career. In 2009, he dropped an album and even had a few hits on Radio Disney. In recent years, Mitchell had some ups and downs, but he's still acting and making music, proving that he's more than just a goofy best friend. The stars of Life Is Ruff may have taken very different paths, but for Disney Channel fans, they'll always be the trio that took on the most chaotic dog in TV movie history.
I'm gonna burst into tears.
Burst into tears every time I think of you. Burst into tears every time I think of you. Burst into tears. I burst into tears. I burst into tears every time I freaking think of you. Our favorite chaos machine wasn't played by just one dog, but multiple well-trained pups. Like most Hollywood animal actors, different dogs were used for different types of scenes. One was trained for running shots, another for tricks, and there was probably one specifically for the destruction scene. Because, let's be real, no one dog could cause this much chaos and be this cute at the same time. In the movie, Calvin has no idea how to train a dog, but in real life, Kyle Massey actually trained with professional dog trainers before filming. Disney wanted him to look somewhat convincing as a first-time dog owner, even though most of his training scenes were just Tyco ignoring him. At least Kyle got some real-life dog training experience out of it. One of the best things about Life Is Ruff, the chemistry between Kyle Massey and Mitchell Musso. Calvin and Raymond's friendship felt real, and there's a good reason for that, because off-screen, Kyle and Mitchell were actually best friends in real life. These two were already close before filming started, which made their on-screen friendship feel way more natural. And honestly, it's probably why their back and forth in this movie is so funny.
I'm gonna burst into tears.
Burst into tears every time I think of you. Burst into tears every time I think of you. Burst into tears. I burst into tears. I burst into tears every time I freaking think of you. Disney Plus has been killing it with the nostalgia lately, bringing back old shows, adding classic DCOMs, and even giving us new sequels and reboots. So why is Life Is Ruff still collecting dust in the Disney archives? The movie deserves way more love, and here's why Disney Plus needs to give it the comeback it actually deserves. Let's face it, Life Is Ruff is peak 2000s Disney Channel. It's got Kyle Massey, Mitchell Musso, Kay Panabaker, and the exact kind of humor that made the early 2000s so great. Disney Plus knows nostalgia sells. Just look at how many people rewatch Hannah Montana, That's So Raven, and The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. If Life Is Ruff was properly promoted on Disney Plus, 2000s fans would eat it up. Unlike some other wacky DCOMs, Life Is Ruff actually had something to say. It's about responsibility, friendship, and the fact that getting a dog is a lifelong commitment, not just a fun idea. And guess what? That message still holds up today. Parents love a movie that's funny and teaches something valuable. So why isn't Disney Plus putting this one in front of new generations?
I'm gonna burst into tears.
Burst into tears every time I think of you. Burst into tears every time I think of you. Burst into tears. I burst into tears. I burst into tears every time I freaking think of you. So after all this, the comedy, the lessons, the nostalgia, let's answer the big question. Is it time to rewatch Life Is Ruff? If you grew up watching Disney Channel in the 2000s, this movie is a must revisit. It's got everything that made early Disney Channel movies so good. Funny moments that actually hold up, a heartwarming story about responsibility and friendship, that early 2000s nostalgia hit that Disney fans love. Let's be real, this movie is a hidden gem, and if you haven't watched it in years or ever, now's the perfect time. If you're craving more nostalgia, check out another video on the channel and share your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to hit like and subscribe and ring that bell to make sure you never miss out on any future videos. Follow me on all other platforms. See you in the next one.